The Three Stooges, while making millions laugh, were secretly trapped in one of Hollywood's most exploitative contracts. The physical comedy that audiences grew up watching came with a devastating human cost that studios desperately tried to hide. One of the Stooges literally ended up on Adolf Hitler's personal death list. The untold story of America's most famous comedy trio reveals shocking facts about Moe, Larry, and Curly that were deliberately concealed from fans for decades. This includes Ted Healy's mysterious death, which remains one of Hollywood's most disturbing, unsolved mysteries. Before the Three Stooges became legends, they were backup performers to another comedian named Ted Healy. Healy's death in 1937 at the Trocadero nightclub in Los Angeles involved a violent argument with actor Wallace Beery, Hollywood agent Pat Dicko, and future James Bond producer Albert Cubby Broccoli. The circumstances surrounding his death are the subject of conflicting reports, with some suggesting he was brutally beaten in the club's parking lot. Healy's death at just 41 years old was officially attributed to kidney failure from alcohol consumption, despite his battered body and bruised face, leading many to believe he was murdered. The iconic V-shaped finger jab to the eyes, a signature move of the Three Stooges, originated from a real moment of violence between the performers during a card game. Shemp Howard, known for his short temper, unexpectedly jabbed Larry Fine in both eyes in genuine anger, which Moe recognized as a brilliant gesture capturing frustration without words. Moe incorporated the eye poke into their routines, turning a moment of real violence into comedy gold. It's important to remember that this move originated from genuine anger and pain between friends. This pattern of real violence turning into comedy would continue to impact the Stooges throughout their careers. Larry Fine's path to becoming a Stooge was influenced by a near-fatal childhood accident that remained hidden from fans for years. Born Louis Feinberg in Philadelphia, Larry came from a family that owned a watch and jewelry repair shop. At the age of 4, he mistakenly grabbed a bottle of hydrochloric acid, causing severe burns to his forearm. Despite the damage, his parents enrolled him in violin lessons to help rebuild strength in the affected limb. Unexpectedly, Larry not only regained strength, but also discovered genuine musical talent through the violin. His graceful violin playing amidst the chaotic Stooges' routines created a captivating contrast that audiences adored, unaware of its painful origins. The Three Stooges' financial struggles were rooted in their initial contract with Columbia Pictures in 1934. Despite their popularity and successful films, they lived paycheck to paycheck due to an exploitative contract that lasted 23 years. Under this contract, Columbia never provided them with a significant raise, resulting in each Stooge earning only $20,000 annually, despite their work generating millions for the studio. Moe incorporated the eye poke into their routines, turning a moment of real violence into comedy gold. It's important to remember that this move originated from genuine anger and pain between friends. This pattern of real violence turning into comedy would continue to impact the Stooges throughout their careers. Larry Fine's path to becoming a Stooge was influenced by a near-fatal childhood accident that remained hidden from fans for years. Born Louis Feinberg in Philadelphia, Larry came from a family that owned a watch and jewelry repair shop. At the age of 4, he mistakenly grabbed a bottle of hydrochloric acid, causing severe burns to his forearm. Despite the damage, his parents enrolled him in violin lessons to help rebuild strength in the affected limb. Unexpectedly, Larry not only regained strength, but also discovered genuine musical talent through the violin. His graceful violin, playing amidst the chaotic Stooges routines, created a captivating contrast that audiences adored, unaware of its painful origins. The Three Stooges' financial struggles were rooted in their initial contract with Columbia Pictures in 1934. Despite their popularity and successful films, they lived paycheck to paycheck due to an exploitative contract that lasted 23 years. Under this contract, Columbia never provided them with a significant raise, resulting in each Stooge earning only $20,000 annually, despite their work generating millions for the studio. The studio was aware of Curly's declining health, but decided to continue filming instead of allowing him time to recover. Unbeknownst to the audience, Curly was experiencing small strokes throughout the 1940s. When Curly suffered a career-ending stroke during filming in 1946, the studio did not stop production, choosing to film around him and causing his disappearance from the short without explanation. Despite making millions from his performances, Columbia Pictures did not provide any support for Curly between 1946 and his death in 1952. Curly's departure led to another family tragedy, as Shemp Howard reluctantly stepped in to save the act after Curly's stroke ended his career. Shemp had established himself as a respected character actor by 1946, but returned to the Stooges out of family loyalty, knowing that Moe and Larry would lose their livelihood if he didn't step in. However, this sacrifice took a toll on Shemp, as audience reactions were harsh, constantly comparing him unfavorably to his beloved younger brother. Shemp lived in constant fear of suffering the same fate as Curly, developing high blood pressure and obsessively worrying about having a stroke. After attending a boxing match on November 22, 1955, Shemp suffered a massive heart attack in a taxi and died instantly. Following Shemp's death, Columbia Pictures demanded the completion of the remaining 4 Three Stooges shorts using a stand-in actor, Joe Palma, to portray a fake Shemp, filming him only from behind or with objects covering his face. Close-up shots and dialogue in the Stooges films often used recycled footage of Shemp from previous movies. In 1956, 4 complete shorts were released without acknowledging Shemp's death during production, leaving Moe and Larry devastated. They felt powerless to object due to their contractual obligations. This practice became so notorious that it coined the industry terms shemping, referring to the use of stand-ins for unavailable actors. It represented a new low in Columbia's exploitation of the performers, demonstrating that even in death, they were viewed as mere assets for profit. The cruelest betrayal by Columbia was the cancellation of the Stooges' contract in 1957 after 24 years, essentially deeming them as washed up. However, just 1 year later, Columbia began licensing their old shorts to television, leading to an unexpected surge in popularity for the Three Stooges. Their shorts became the highest-rated programs in their time slots, introducing them to a new generation of fans. Yet the Stooges themselves saw none of this money due to their 1934 contract lacking residual rights. Moe Howard and Larry struggled to find work, while Columbia profited indefinitely from their labor without compensating them. Moe Howard and Larry were forced to tour constantly with a replacement just to make ends meet, while their former studio reaped the profits from their decades of work. When Curly Joe DeRita joined Moe and Larry in 1958, he was presented as an equal partner in publicity materials, but in reality, he was brought in as a hired employee rather than a full partner. Moe and Larry retained the majority of profits during the most lucrative period in the Stooges' history, creating an uncomfortable dynamic for DeRita, who, despite becoming the face of the Stooges for an entire generation, never achieved the financial security his contributions deserved. When Larry's stroke in 1970 ended the act, DeRita found himself suddenly without income, despite having been a stooge for 12 years. This final insult came in retirement, highlighting the concealed exploitation and inequalities faced by the Stooges and their replacements. Merchandise featuring his likeness continued to sell, but he received minimal compensation from these ongoing uses of his work. DeRita's story seems unfair, but Larry Fine's final chapter reveals the most heartbreaking fate of all. At Fact 5, Larry's gambling addiction led to a tragic end. Larry Fine ended his life in circumstances that would shock anyone who assumed these comedy legends lived like Hollywood royalty. Here's a devastating fact that was completely hidden. Larry had a serious gambling addiction that consumed most of his earnings. While Moe Howard wisely invested his modest salary in real estate, Larry lost the majority of his income at racetracks and card games. His daughter revealed that Larry would sometimes lose an entire week's salary in a single afternoon, which meant that, despite appearing in over 200 films, Larry accumulated virtually no savings. When Columbia canceled their contract in 1957, Larry briefly worked as a bartender, trading on his celebrity status to earn tips. When Larry suffered a stroke in 1970, he spent his final 5 years in a charity facility for indigent performers. Despite Columbia's continued profits from television syndication, the studio provided no support for their former star. Larry died in 1975, with virtually no assets, while Columbia was still generating millions annually from his work. His death left Moe facing the final heartbreaking chapter. Moe Howard spent his final years in circumstances that revealed the true cost of their exploitation. After Larry's stroke ended the act in 1970, Moe found himself professionally adrift for the first time since the 1920s. Despite his reputation for financial prudence, Moe was facing serious money pressure in his final years. The man who had appeared in over 200 films was forced to take odd jobs well into his 70s. In one particularly heartbreaking example, Moe worked as a gopher at Hanna-Barbera Studios, running errands around a studio lot, with some staff members not even recognizing him without his iconic bowl haircut. When Moe was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1975, he had been quietly working on one final project, a tribute to the Stooges. But his diagnosis ended those plans. Moe died in May 1975, just months after Larry's death, bringing a quiet end to the original era. But there were even darker secrets that took decades to emerge. The studio's deliberate deception campaign finally came to light. Columbia Pictures ran a deliberate misinformation campaign to hide the Stooges' true value. Internal documents revealed decades later show executives regularly lied about box office performance, telling them shorts were barely breaking even when they were actually packing theaters. The studio created fake accounting documents and prevented the Stooges from receiving fan mail, keeping them from understanding their popularity. A Columbia memo actually refers to the Stooges as our golden geese, while discussing keeping them content with chicken feed. This systematic deception reveals calculated exploitation designed to maximize profits while minimizing costs. Even this wasn't the most shocking revelation. The second shocking fact involves the Three Stooges' mob connections and dangerous encounters. They had several dangerous encounters with organized crime figures that were completely hidden from the public. During their peak years, many Hollywood venues had connections to crime families. Mo Howard's unpublished memoirs reveal terrifying incidents, including hiding in a basement while gunfire erupted upstairs during a Chicago club performance. Larry Fine received threats from crime boss representatives after refusing their investment offer. Most dangerous was when Curly accidentally witnessed a murder at a Los Angeles nightclub in 1944. Studio executives immediately moved him to a safe house with private security. Columbia worked overtime to keep these stories from the press, knowing any crime association could destroy their family-friendly image. The most incredible hidden fact puts their entire legacy in perspective. The first hidden fact involves Hitler's personal death list. The Three Stooges were allegedly placed on Adolf Hitler's personal death list because of their bold anti-Nazi comedy. In 1940, when America was still neutral and most of Hollywood avoided criticizing foreign leaders, the Stooges released You Nasty Spy, a short film that directly parodied Hitler and Nazi ideology with unprecedented boldness. Mo Howard played Mo Hailstone, an unmistakable caricature of Hitler, while Curly and Larry mocked other Nazi leaders. The film ridiculed everything from Hitler's speeches to concentration camps and book burnings. This wasn't just comedy. It was a gutsy political statement that put their careers and potentially their lives at risk. What made this remarkable is that Mo, Larry, and Curly were all Jewish performers taking enormous risks to speak out against fascism when it was politically dangerous. FBI documents released decades later show the U.S. government took potential threats against the Stooges seriously enough to monitor their safety during the war years. This fact transforms how we see their legacy. They weren't just entertainers. They were among the first Americans to use their platform to fight fascism through comedy. In conclusion, these 15 shocking facts about the Three Stooges were deliberately concealed from fans for decades, revealing a far more complex story than the simple slapstick narrative we grew up with. These comedians were not just entertainers making funny faces. They were skilled performers who made sacrifices in their health and financial stability to bring happiness to millions of people, all while advocating against injustice in Hollywood and beyond. It's important to remember the true human toll behind the laughter, such as Mo working as a gopher in his 70s, Larry passing away with financial struggles in a charity hospital, and Curly enduring suffering in silence while the cameras were rolling. It's also crucial to acknowledge their bravery as three Jewish comedians who dared to ridicule Hitler during a perilous time. Their legacy encompasses more than just comedic brilliance. It also serves as a warning about an entertainment industry that exploits the very individuals who create billion-dollar content.